This is your Chargers linebacker, Deane Leonard, and you're tuning in with Chargers Unleashed.
Welcome to Chargers Unleashed. Dan Wolkenstein here with you from the LAFB Network. If this is your first time tuning into the show, please be sure to hit that like and subscribe button on YouTube. You can also find us anywhere you find your podcasts. You picked a good one. If this is the first one, we have very special guest, Chargers cornerback Deane Leonard joins Chargers Unleashed, fresh off a fantastic preseason game number 2 against the Los Angeles Rams. So much we get into. We talk about defensive coordinator Jesse Minter. We talk about his ascension as a player. We talk about the cornerback room, the new scheme, what the team's expectations are, all of that and more. Very excited to get this one to you. Deane Leonard joins Chargers Unleashed next. Well, Chargers preseason game number 3 is on deck. An opportunity for these Chargers players to continue to get better. Fresh off a standout performance, though, last week versus the Rams. Chargers cornerback Deane Leonard joins us again here on Chargers Unleashed. Deane, thanks for hopping on again. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Really of course. How was the offseason? Off the field, of course. How was the offseason? What were some of the highlights for you?
It was good. A lot of golf trips going on, as I talked to you last year about. Been working on the game a lot. Obviously, there's training for football. There's time for that, but golf was the main thing for me.
Okay, so I'm going to put Tarheeb still on blast. We had him on the show earlier, and he was saying that he's gotten into golf a bunch. And about 1 in 30 go straight. The rest are veering left or right. For you, in 30 hits, how many are going straight?
I'll give myself – it depends what club we're talking about. If it's any iron, I'll give myself like 28 out of 30. Decently straight. I'm not like – we're talking about slices here. Like decently straight. If we're talking about driver, then I'll give myself like 50-50. Okay. The driver is the weakness right now, for sure.
Still better than 1 of 30.
Yeah, yeah. You take little wins when you can.
Yeah, well, maybe you need to take Tarheeb to the range a couple times. Give him some of your lessons.
Might be a lost cause. I've never seen him swing, but I can imagine.
Oh man, that's funny. Well, lots to get into. I want to talk to you about your performance this past week. Talk to you about the offseason, the new coaching staff, as well as the upcoming game. But I guess starting off, like last week, we saw you really kind of put a mark on the preseason for the defense. I think your camp has kind of continued the solid trajectory. Everyone's seen kind of your coverage abilities improve, your technique, situational awareness. I thought it was awesome. Everyone sees the interception, but I thought the kind of you sniffing out the goal line fade in the red zone, thought was awesome. Not to mention all the special team stuff. But after watching the film back from last week, talk to us about just the performance you had and the team had and kind of what your takeaways were for yourself and the team.
No, I think for me, obviously when you have a lot of ball production, you're going to like your individual performance at the end of the day. But I also think, like I mentioned, the eye discipline before, like there were times where it was good. There's also times to slip up. And it's kind of something that we talked about as a defense. Is like discipline is like you could be a good defense if you you make the plays that come to you, but to be a great defense, you have to do that every play. It's just a consistency, I think, that I still need to improve on. It has to be – you can't just do it some of the time and expect to win. You need to do it all the time. And I think that kind of goes for the defense as a whole. Is we could do a lot of good stuff, but it's just only takes a few plays to really break open the game. So I think just being consistent for everybody is going to be like kind of the key word moving forward.
Is there a specific play, maybe both sides of the coin here, where you saw all of the details on full display and it worked to the perfection, or maybe the alternative where maybe the lack of focus maybe cost you a first down or the team a first down? Like, is there an example that you can give us specifically?
Yeah, I mean, the Rams, they have a lot of condensed splits, so they do a lot of boot action off of that. And we had a key going into the game, and I had a breakup on one of them. I blanketed the other one, but just randomly throughout the game, they just they kept the tight end and it kind of booted inserted the receiver, and my eyes were bad, and then I gave up a first down on the same play that I covered 2 times before. So it's just stuff like that kind of leaks through.
Got it. Okay, and so that's the difference between if you can get that 100% of the time versus 2/3 of the time. That's the difference between the win and the loss. Interesting. Good for you. Okay, well we've heard about Jesse Minter, and everybody's talked about your defensive coordinator and the praise, and he's talked about your ascension as a player. What do you feel are the areas that you've maybe improved the most so far this year, and what would you attribute that improvement to?
I think it's just time being in the league. You is trusting what you see out there. and having the confidence to go make a play on what you see. There's times before where I would be like, okay, like I see this, I think it's going to be coming, but you just want to play safe. You don't want to get beat, so you're not necessarily being as aggressive as you should be on that. But I think just like the more time I'm out here, the more things you see, and just I don't know, just being more aggressive, wanting to make more plays, stand out more.
How do you kind of ride that line between aggression and smart? Because like a lot of times a fine line that you can cross, but you want to ride it, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's a tough line right there. I think within the scheme, there's times where you're going to be protected and sometimes where you're going to be protecting other people. So if you know you're protected, you can take more risks. But if there's some situations where, let's say I'm just one-on-one and I want to go be staring at the quarterback or something like that, that's a bad deal right there.
Got it. Okay. Interesting with the protection versus being protected. I like that. Similar question, but maybe I guess for the secondary room, you're now in year 3 with this Chargers team. The new coaching staff on defense, including Coach Minter and Coach Klingskill, are looking to kind of help your group level up, right? Like, I'm curious from your perspective, what would you say are the biggest differences between this new defensive coaching staff you have now versus the coaching staff that you had on defense last year?
The biggest difference, otherwise than the scheme, I feel like things aren't as, not saying they're less detailed, but I think they allow players to express themselves through their play style. You know what I mean? They don't say you have to be like this, you have to do this. It's like individual play styles can kind of show themselves. They give players the freedom to be themselves out there, is what I'm trying to say. I think that's something that they do for sure.
So give me an example of, let's just say you versus like another cornerback in your room. So let's say you versus Asante Samuel Jr. Like, what would they allow you to do differently than maybe him in a play scheme or on a specific play design?
I think it's more so like technique wise. They're not going to say, oh, you have to stay square. Oh, you have to open your hips at this point. I think like as long as you're able to do your job and you're kind of playing your role in the defense, and they'll allow you to like just feel the game through.
Got it. Okay. And I guess maybe regarding the scheme, like how do you, there's so much potential people talk about, right? Like for you or for the defense specifically, like if you had to put like a percentage on how far along the defense is at in terms of like fully maximizing and translating everything in the meeting rooms and film to the field, like how far along are you in the whole process?
That's a tough question. How far along are we to the new defense? I think that's going to be tough to say because right now everything's kind of training camp rules. I think when we start really prepping for, like, let's say week 1 for the Raiders, I feel like that's when the defense really coming to fruition, when you have all these checks and everything. So you'll get back to me in week 1 and then I'll let you know.
Okay, I'll ping you. Sounds good. Instead of the coaches, let's talk about the scheme that you're now running. And it sounds like, especially from a lot of the players that we've heard from, a lot of people talk about how much fun it is playing in this new defense and how many more opportunities there are for everyone to make more plays. I kind of wanted to double click on that. Like, where do you see the biggest changes or differences from the scheme that you were in last year from a defensive back perspective from the years prior? And what aspect of the game do you think fans can like see with the eye test of the biggest differences of this scheme versus last?
I think, from a corners perspective, I think the corners are a lot more involved in the entirety of the defense this year round. I think before it was kind of like, okay, we have number 1 and we just locked on our guy the entire time, but now we're allowed to make checks. We're allowed to kind of we can kind of command our side of the field, which I think just allows us to see the bigger picture and just play as an entire defense rather than just kind of feeling like you're on the island the entire time.
Connectiveness and playing on a string. I think that's something that a lot of Chargers fans have talked about and folks covering this team have been looking for, because it always seemed like there was just one person or one slight thing that was off and then, backs break. I've noticed it the last couple of weeks of like the defense, especially the secondary, just seems connected. And that's been refreshing for me. Is that scheme? Is that coaching, or is that player?
The scheme definitely allows us to work together more, and I think it's just it's a testament to our coaches. They kind of give us a good game plan, so we're confident out there, communicate, execute. And I think it's also just like the players. I think we have a tight knit group, and just to trust in one another to get the job done.
We're talking to Deane Leonard here. You've cut your teeth with this team first and foremost on special teams, where you've been a core 4 player and really stand out there first and foremost as you've kind of risen as a cornerback. You made game-altering plays for your teammates on special teams. Talk to us about kind of the mindset of the special teams unit and maybe the impact of special teams Ryan Ficken and the goals you guys have this year.
I think our goals is just continue to be a dominant unit. For me, I think a lot of guys have the same mentality. It's just like, we're not the Justin Herbert, we're not the Khalil Max of the team, but we want to do whatever we can to put them in the best position to win. I think that's what our mindset has been since the beginning.
Have you noticed anything specific from Ryan Ficken? Because the special teams unit just has appeared night and day since he joined this team. Like, what is it about him that makes the special teams unit gel so well, seemingly?
I think he puts together good game plans every week, and I think he just trusts his guys. He's definitely a player's coach, and the guys will run through a brick wall for him. I'm one of them. So, yeah, he just shows a lot of love for the players, and I think they respond back by just performing as best as they can for him.
No, perspective is a heck of a thing, and the defense seems to have been, especially during training camp in the last couple of weeks as well, going against other teams in preseason. But the defense seems to have been stacking solid performances these last few weeks, especially with Justin Herbert not playing. But then now with Justin Herbert back this week, we've heard reports where he's looked as good as he's ever looked, and he's slinging all over the yard. Yeah. I'm curious from your perspective, like as a defensive player, like what is it like having Justin back, and what are the differences in like how the defense prepares going up against him versus maybe the other quarterbacks that you had to go up against in practice?
Just being in the back end, there's like some holes that you think that they're not going to test. Like he'll just zip it right past your head in there. So you just really got to be on your toes every time he's out there. It's just good competition. It prepares you for the best. Iron sharpens iron. Just having them out there, it makes you perform the best that you can, even have a shot.
What do you make of the receivers this year? They're very different than you played against last year. Like, how have the impressions been of them? Like, what are your thoughts on Ladd, or how's QJ look to you?
Yeah, they look really good. I think Ladd's routes are amazing. I think QJ's grown a lot. Yeah, they look good. I think they're just going to keep on growing throughout the year.
Who's the toughest cover for you?
The toughest cover? Probably Ladd. It wasn't even during like practice or anything. I remember after practice, when I was actually talking about this earlier, after practice, sometimes I just get like releases from some guys just like kind of get some press work in. And I remember I asked Ladd one time, and I thought I was just going to be like, 75%. And he just he routed me up like 3 times in a row. So I think Ladd, I don't even want it Ladd.
Chargers fans will love to hear that.
Yeah, JP has great releases too. But yeah, Ladd, that one just stuck out to me. Ladd got me a few times.
Okay. What are your expectations for the defense this year? Like, are there any concrete goals that you can share with us?
Man, I'm trying to think. Our goals aren't necessarily we want to be ranked this, but is winning games is the goals that we show every day. You have to win the next game, win your division conference, and you go to Super Bowl. I think that's what, as a defense, what you look at first.
What are your expectations for the defense? Like, what do you? I mean, this is all new for you, for at least this year versus last year. Everything's different. What do you expect this year from the team?
What I expect, I want to be a connected unit. I want the back end to play really well. That's the biggest thing. Just like kind of ownership of the unit. Like, I want us to play really well. I want us to play together, and I want us to be physical too. I think the tackling for the past few years in the back end needs to be better. So we need to get our tackling better, and hopefully be top 10, top 5.
Have you noticed a difference in those things this training camp? I know it's hard to get some of that stuff without having pads going up against like in real games, but have you noticed an improvement or difference in those aspects yet?
Yeah, no, in practice, just like the angles that they teach, like they harp on angles every day. That's what tackling really comes down to, is taking the proper angle and using your help when you can. And the amount that we emphasize it, I think it's going to help a lot.
Okay, but just a couple more for you. We'll get you out of here. Preseason game number 3 ahead versus the Dallas Cowboys this weekend. What is it that you and the defense are looking to accomplish in this matchup?
For the back end, I know Dallas does. They throw a lot more isolation routes, more just one-on-one. So I just want to see the corners win more than they lose. No, we gotta start winning in man. So that's what I look forward to seeing.
I love it. Okay, so you mentioned golf. We'll get you out of here on a fun one. You mentioned golf. That's been something you've been working on. Other than that, what is it that you like to do in the free time? Are you a chef? Are you cooking brisket? Are you on the sticks playing Madden or NCAA? You in the water? Like, where's your happy places?
Happy places. We already got golf out of the way. I play video games too. I've been playing video games since I was like 8 years old, so that's a big part of my life as well. Spend time with my girlfriend. We like to go out to dinner and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, that's what I'm doing with my free time.
Okay, video games. Tar Heap Still, we just talked to him last week. He's a Fortnite guy. Obviously, Derwin's Madden and NCAA, plays it all the time. What's your game of choice?
Oh man, right now, you ever heard of League of Legends? It's a nerdy game.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
I've been playing that since I was like 14. So yeah, that's my go-to right now.
I love it. Hey, you've been outstanding, Deane. Thank you so much for doing this. It's been so much fun. We appreciate your time. Look forward to seeing you ball out, man. It's been really fun to see your ascension as a player and just to see kind of you start pushing these other corners to kind of have to be better, or else you might be going for their job one day. But otherwise, thank you again for everything and look forward to seeing you ball out this year.
I appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
All right, man. See ya.